Hey there and welcome. My name is Pete and this is the usual monthly channel update video for the upcoming month of September 2018. And most of you should know the drill by now. We always start things off with a look back at the previous month, and just like July before it, August was a crazy month in terms of channel growth. Near the beginning of the month we reached 20,000 subscribers for the first time, and actually just a few days ago we even made it to 25,000. And all the while I still remember how we wrapped up June with about 8,500, so in the last 60 days the channel has almost quadrupled in size, and there is only one thing for me to say at this point, and that is thank you. And I know I've said thank you many times before already, but I still mean it. It still makes me so incredibly proud to see where the channel is today. It makes me so happy that my dream of having a YouTube channel like this worked, and of course it would not have worked without each and every one of you. And we are actually getting closer and closer to the point where I have to think about whether or not I want to do YouTube as a job, at least part-time, and that is something that I honestly wasn't even capable of imagining back when I started. So once again, thank you all so much for your support. I know the vast majority of you came from the RimWorld series, but even during these past 2 months where growth has been absolutely crazy, I never once felt like any of you were taking offense to the fact that I want to keep this a variety channel, and that is also something I'm thankful for, that all of you understand that I want to play other games even though RimWorld is the popular thing at the moment, that you understand that I feel like there are other games that belong on this channel, and that you also understand that quality content takes a bit of time, and that you're willing to wait for that and stick around. And another huge thank you goes out to the patrons at this point. The Pete Complete patron is currently right at $200 a month, and that is absolutely awesome, of course. Once again, I had not expected for it to grow that fast, but believe me, I am immensely thankful for each and every one of you who pledged, and I actually have a small announcement for the patron, so we might as well jump into that right now. As some of you might know, back when I started the Patreon, I had the $3 postcard tier. Now that tier was sold out over the course of the very first night the Patreon was active, and the postcards are of course already sent out. Now of course there are other content creators who have a Patreon with only one single tier where you can pledge whatever you like, and I also thought about that for a while, but I have also received numerous requests for more tiers and rewards, so I sat down over the weekend and here is what I came up with. Now, I believe this was actually suggested by one of the patrons a few weeks ago. I couldn't find the post anymore though, but we are now establishing what I would like to call the naming rights tier. This tier will remain at $3, just like the postcard tier before, and everyone in this tier will receive naming rights for everyone or everything we can name in one of the current or one of the upcoming playthroughs. That could be colonists or animals in RimWorld, players and draft classes in the NBA 2K series, or weapons, vehicles, or whatever else appears in a game that we play in the future. And as this video goes up, that tier will already be live, so it will probably automatically apply to some of you, and then there might be others who want to adjust their pledge to meet the new tier, and of course I would be very happy about that. At the same time though, as always, please don't go above your means for me. If you want to support me, then that is absolutely awesome, but don't stress yourself. Keep in mind this is completely optional, and I will still like you the same even if you don't pledge. On the topic of the Pete Complete Patreon, by the way, there is one more thing. I just received an email a few days ago from Patreon, and the mail basically said that there were some issues processing payments in the past, and that some patrons had trouble with declined payments. This very likely only concerns a small minority of users, but still I have left a post on my Patreon page with more information. So if you have any trouble either with my Patreon or with any other patron you support, then feel free to check that out, and I hope it helps. And with all of that out of the way, let's now finally take a look ahead at what's next for Pete Complete in September. Now, RimWorld and Mass Effect will continue as usual, no end in sight for either of those series. However, if things go the way I hope they do, then the NBA 2K series could come to an end in a few weeks. The Louisville Legionnaires have once again made it into the playoffs, and things are looking pretty good right now. And after all, the goal for the series was to win a championship, so once we have that, I would likely wrap things up. Of course, if it takes another season, then I will gladly play another season, but if it doesn't, we are looking at an open slot for a new series. And as you know, the obvious candidate would of course be NBA 2K19. Now, especially these past few weeks, many of you have been asking me what my plans are for 2K19, and even today, just a few days ahead of its release, I'm still not entirely certain. There are two main issues I currently have, and I would like to explain those in a bit more detail. The first one is, while I enjoyed our expansion team series, the scope of it was, well, exhaustive to say the least. When I started that series, I never thought it would run for a full year, but now it did, and like I said, I really enjoyed it. I will admit though that during that year I also sometimes wished I could have played other games, but with one of my slots permanently occupied by 2K I couldn't really do that. Now, this problem is of course relatively easy to solve. I wouldn't want to do the exact same thing again anyway, and it would probably still be possible to find another format, one that is still built around my League or my Jam mode, but maybe one that doesn't run for a full year, or one that is, like the NBA 2K17 series for example, split into standalone videos and not a full-length connected series. So again, all of that would be possible. There is however a second issue. And that issue is rooted a bit deeper, and it is how NBA 2K is developing as a series as a whole. Now, I will say this, I enjoyed my time with NBA 2K18 immensely. I am a huge basketball fan myself, and NBA 2K is, for better or worse, the most realistic game out there. Still, 2K18 was also the first game where I didn't play more than a few hours in my career. It was also the first installment in the series where I didn't even bother with my GM, and so I spent all my time almost exclusively playing my league mode. Now, you could say, hey Pete, that's cool. The game has different game modes to please different kinds of people. And in theory, I would agree with that. I was always more of a My League or My GM mode player, but in practice, at least in my opinion, the problem goes a lot deeper than that. It is no secret that 2K has received massive amounts of criticism for 2K18, especially for how my career, the flagship mode of the game, was implemented. And VC, the virtual currency of the game, was at the forefront of almost all those criticisms, and in my opinion, the backlash was absolutely justified. Unskippable cutscenes, constant patches that tweaked and retweaked stuff, cringy advertisements plastered all over the game, the whole neighborhood thing, and above all, of course, the fact that without spending additional money on a full-price game, my career mode was more or less destined to become a huge grindfest. And I will be completely honest with you, I have my concerns that most of these things will make their return in 2K19. Yes, cutscenes will be skippable, but honestly that is not the issue, but the overall business practice that seems to be focused more and more on getting people to spend in-game money, that is the big problem in my opinion. Now, of course, the game isn't out yet, so take this with a grain of salt, but slowly, day after day, more facts about the game emerge and make the rounds, and the whole VC thing doesn't look to be all that different. One crucial moment for me was when I saw Chris Smoot spend about 200,000 VC to get his player up to an 85, which above all tells me one thing, and that is that without spending additional money on a full-priced game, 2K19's career mode is once again very likely to be grindy as hell. Now, of course, this is only one example, but there are plenty of others from last year and from this one, and if you have followed the game in the past, then you probably know quite a few of them. I also don't want to stretch this out for too long, but I will say this, I am seriously at a point where I'm thinking about whether or not I want to support this game and the company behind it in the future. I think it comes down to the simple fact that 2K, yeah, they are exploiting the player base, and the sad truth is that despite all the criticism, it seems to work. So I hope you understand why I'm a bit torn on the franchise at the moment. On one side, I have enjoyed my time with 2K18 immensely, but on the other side, giving a game with practices like that even more coverage feels slightly wrong to me. And this is also why I have no idea whether or not 2K will make a return on this channel after the current series is over. However, maybe even more than ever before, I would also like to hear your thoughts on the situation. Many of you have found your way to this channel because of the 2K series, and I think many of you have also enjoyed our expansion series as much as I did, but I'm also convinced that I'm not alone with my concerns regarding the game. So please leave your takes on the situation in the comments below. I would definitely like to hear your perspective on things, maybe that makes the decision a bit easier. And with that slightly thoughtful note, I would also like to wrap the video up for today. It was a bit longer than usual, but I hope you understand that I had to get this out of my system. As always, of course, if you like the channel update video, then I would be happy if you could leave a thumbs up. And if you want to support the channel and help Pete Complete grow further, then you can either subscribe if you haven't already, or you can of course also support the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.